Good afternoon. This is Jeff Dawson, author of Do Your Damn Job, which is my no nonsense, no bullshit management book. This episode is going to be a little different. Goodyear Tire Company has been in the news. We've all heard it, we've seen it. So, what is correct? Well, let's look at what the Federalist had to say about it. On Twitter, they posted a picture that appears to come from Goodyear on their zero tolerance policy. And they say, acceptable, Black Lives Matter, BLM, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, pride, LGBT. Unacceptable is Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, MAGA attire, political affiliated slogans material. Now that's what the mem said. Then Goodyear came out with their response to this. Now I'm going to have to come back to this because this is going to be attributed to the book I wrote of Do Your Damn Job, and it's time to get rid of the gray and the bullshit and all the crap that seems to clutter up our litigious HR PC climate. Goodyear's response is, first, the vigil in question was not created or distributed by Goodyear corporate, nor was it part of a diversity training class. To be clear on our long-standing corporate policy, Goodyear has zero tolerance for any forms of harassment or discrimination. To enable a work environment free of those, we ask that associates refrain from workplace expressions in support of political campaigning for any candidate or political party, as well as all similar forms of advocacy that fall outside the scope of racial justice and equity issues. Second, we appreciate the diverse viewpoints of all of our more than 60,000 associates, which are at the heart of many of the policies we establish. Fostering an inclusiveness, respectful workplace is important to establish teamwork and build culture, which is another reason we ask associates not to engage in political campaigning of any kind in the workplace for any candidate, party, or political organization. Third and finally, Goodyear has always wholeheartedly supported both equality and law enforcement and will continue to do so. These are not mutually exclusive. We have heard from some of you that believe Goodyear is anti-police after reacting to the visual. Nothing could be further from the truth, and we have the utmost appreciation for the vital work police do on behalf of our shared communities. This can't be said strongly enough. However, an employee apparently had his device and recorded what, it doesn't say exactly who, but I would suspect the plant manager or someone from HR came out and gave a speech. And this is what they recorded. Some people may wish to express their views on social justice or inequity or equity issues such as Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ pride on their face coverings, shirts, or wristbands. That will be deemed approved because it applies with a zero tolerance stance. And, however, if an associate wears all blue White Lives Matter shirts or face coverings, that will not be appropriate. So, what the hell are they saying? Well, that's kind of the $64,000 question, but let me talk about Goodyear for a minute. I bought a truck back in 2010, and within 4 or 5 years, I needed new tires. And just out of curiosity, I asked the dealer that I was trading with, what about Goodyear's? And they looked at me and said, has hell frozen over? I said, what do you mean by that? And they go, we do not sell those tires. So this is like 2014 or 15. We don't sell those. And I go, why? And they said, because they're crap. We've had them sitting in our warehouses for years, and we're just trying to dump them. They have got to be one of the worst tires on the market. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. How is that possible? And I used to watch NASCAR. I used to follow the Formula One and the Indy racers. And growing up, I always remembered the tires you saw in the pits were whose? They were Goodyear. We had the Goodyear blimp. So as far as I was concerned, the advertising campaign had worked because I was convinced Goodyear was a reputable firm and produced a good product. Needless to say, I found out that wasn't the case. Now, up until this time, I had been running Michelin. Yet the guys at the shop said, well, you know, Michelin are the highest. And I said, I understand that. And they said, when was the last time you bought a pair? I said, well, it's been a while. They said, yeah, you might think about Yokohama. I said, okay. It's a good tire. It's going to give me the longevity I need because I drive on the average 20 to 30,000 miles a year. They said, yep, that'll do it. So I've got a set of Yokohamas, and that was 5 years ago, and I just replaced them. Excellent tire. But let's get back to Goodyear. They got a lot of egg on their face, and I've seen the post where the stock dropped. What did it say? Like 40%. Well, when you're trading at 1040, there aren't a lot of ways to go down. So a 40% drop is going to put them, what, around 940 or something? Yes, percentage-wise, it's a sizable drop. But dollar-wise, not so much. But when you look at the history of Goodyear stock, it's like a roller coaster that never comes up. So they've got a lot of problems at that company. And I don't know if they can recover from it. I mean, if you're going to have a meeting with employees and you don't want anything recorded, you're going to have to start telling them you can't have your phones in the workplace. And I fought this battle as a project manager of no personal phones on your body. They stay in your car. Of course, I would be argued with by the employees. Well, you've got a phone. I said, yeah, it's a company phone. What about it? My personal phone stays in my truck because that's for personal use. This is for company use, thus I have to have one whether I like it or not. So Goodyear really didn't think this through. In fact, a lot of companies aren't thinking this through. We've seen it in locker rooms where guys were recording what the coaches were saying and they weren't supposed to be recording. Well, you know, y'all need to pull your heads out, get with the program, and if you don't want personal phones, then you better have somebody checking the door and making sure that you don't have it. And if you're still not sure about that, oh, God forgive us, you're going to have to come up with a memo because you can't trust people that you sign it and say you will not record this meeting. And if you do, then we are going to prosecute you. I mean, is that what we're coming down to because people don't have any personal responsibility? Sadly, that is the case. But let's get back to their 3-point discussion of their screw up. Because, I mean, that's it. You recorded this guy in Topeka. The memo you send out, the press release, whatever the hell you want to call it, the CYA that isn't covering anybody's ass, not even yours, is about as long-winded as they get. And this is what's wrong with our culture, and this is why I wrote the book, Do Your Damn Job. You don't want politics, and that's the first thing they talk about here. First, visual in question was not created or distributed by Goodyear Corporate, or was it part of our diversity training class? We didn't release the damn Photo. This was not part of our diversity training, and anybody who thinks so is wrong. That's it. Okay? Second, here we go on. We appreciate blah, blah, blah. How many of you were bored when I was reading this? I was about to fall asleep. It should have read, no political propaganda allowed on premises. That's right. Whether it's right, left, or independent. You're wearing a hat, you're wearing a shirt, you're wearing a wristband, you're wearing a belt, you're wearing underwear for all that matters. If it pushes a candidate or his party, it's banned. Got it? Show up with it, you're going to the house. You're not working today and you're not getting paid. Isn't that what we grew up with? I mean, I'm 60 years old. We had a dress code. You come to school, you're not wearing the right clothes, your ass is gone. Hit the road, Jack. Don't come back until you get it right. Very simple. Jesus. And 3. And here we go. And Goodyear's always wholeheartedly supported. Blah, blah, blah. We support the police. End of statement. Without them, we would have a lawless society. All you got to say, we support the police 100%. Got a problem with that? Got a question about that? Well, then you're just a dumbass. That's it. It could all be cleared up. But no, we have to have lawyers draft up everything, come up with some long, drawn-out explanation when you just can't slap them upside the head and say, hey, you dumbasses, this is where we stand. You got a problem with that? Then go work for somebody else down the road. Why is that so hard? Oh, he's going to hurt my feelings. Well, that's what my book is about. Do I hurt feelings in the book? No, but I call a spade a spade. I call the truth out, whether you like it or not. It's right there, and yes, it's in your face. I had one guy who watched my initial video and said I came across like a drill sergeant. Okay, well, yes, I do. So I'm trying to soften that just a little. But you can't soften something when people aren't listening. I've sat in these meetings. It's like Goodyear's statement reminded me of when our safety manager would come out and read the weekly safety topic. My God, he put us all to sleep. I mean, word for word. Today's handout on ladder safety, on chainsaw safety, and he's just reading it word for word. And remember, half of the guys don't understand English. They only speak Spanish. Yeah, they've got the Spanish one. Well, those guys didn't care. I could see it. And I finally pulled him to the side. His name was Ron Johnson. He was a really nice guy, and sadly he passed, I think, 6 years ago after he retired. I said, Ron, you're putting the guys to sleep. Hell, you're putting me to sleep. You're putting the dead to sleep. You know the material. I understand that you are required by risk management to conduct these meetings every Monday morning. Well, you know the material, you know the topic. Come out here and talk to the men. Don't read to them. Take the high points, the things that are critical, and drill those home. That's what they'll understand. They're not going to understand some bureaucrat who wrote this paper for you to read verbatim. You can't do that. It's like me reading the spec book on the installation of an overhead sign. The guys in the field don't want to know exactly what the state of Texas is saying is required. They want to know how to do it and do it safely. So it's my job, read the specs, read the procedures, go out there, get with them and say, here's how we're going to do it, here's how it needs to be done, and here's what not to do so you can go home safely. And we're done. Otherwise, I've got a 2-page 4-page memorandum on implementing this. No. It's like meetings. How many of you all have sat in a meeting that went on and on and on and on, and you go, oh God, please shoot me or shut the son of a bitch up. I have work to do. How many of you, raise your hand, have been in that situation? I have been in it more times than I care to remember. But a good example, I worked for a contractor and we cut a fiber line that was improperly marked. Yeah, that's kind of a key right there. You see all these commercials about call dig tests, call before you dig. Well, there's a reason for it. You cut a fiber line, you don't know how many tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a second is going to hit your insurance company. So we hit a fiber line. It wasn't a big one because this was on a campus in Richardson, Texas. But it wasn't properly marked. My boss comes in and asks me to attend this meeting. I'm in charge of the utility part of the job. I have nothing to do with the dirt. And I asked him, why do you want me to go? He said, well, because you could have good input. I said, fine, I'll go. I went to the meeting and I sat there for an hour and 10 minutes. And you know what we resolved? Nothing. Nothing about locating utilities. Well, that's the reason the meeting was held. How are we going to locate and identify existing utilities on this new project? My boss looked at me and goes, Jeff, you haven't said anything. I said, nothing to say. Not really. Well, are you sure you have nothing to add to this conversation? I said, do you really want me to add to it? He goes, well, it might be helpful and insightful. I said, okay. So I looked at my watch and said, gentlemen, we've been here an hour and 10 minutes and resolved nothing other than we're going to have meetings to sub-meetings to other meetings. We're going to have more reports. We're going to open up this, quote, closed line of communication, which has been open for 2 months, because I had brought this up several times. Who's responsible for locating the underground utilities? And nobody did a damn thing until we cut a fiber line. And I said, here's the deal. Don't give a damn who it is. Don't care if it's the city. Don't care if it's the university. Don't care if it's the public works department or your plant manager for the university. I don't give a damn who it is. But to be honest, we're not going to move a yard of dirt until all known utilities on this site have been located. We know there's power. We know there's gas. We obviously know there's a fiber line. Anything else we need to know about? Water, sewer? And until you do that, I don't think we should move another yard of dirt. And those guys looked at me. Oh, they hated me. Because I just blew everything out of the water. But in 5 minutes, I resolved what we had sat there for an hour and 10 minutes. And we did not work on that job for a week. We shut it down. My boss said, all right, we're shut down. That was a productive meeting. That was precise, succinct, and definitive information that anyone could digest and understand and take action on. That's what a meeting should be. That's what a memo should be. Not this long, drawn-out, 3-point blah, blah, blah of crap that nobody could even get through to the end. The average worker is not going to read this and comprehend what Goodyear wanted, to be clear on our long-standing corporate policy. Well, if it's so long-standing, why the hell didn't anybody understand it, especially the guy who gave the speech that said BLM crap is okay and Blue Lives Matter and all that isn't? What type of policy is that? Get it succinct and to the point to enable a working environment free of those. We ask that associates refrain from workplace expressions in support of political campaigns. Hey, you can't talk politics on the job. Got it? Good. Move on. And then you could have thrown a part B in there And if you don't like somebody else's sports team, whether it's college or pro, don't talk about that either if you can't be adults about it. Yeah, because sports can get just as heated. We've been there. We all know that. And then we have 60,000 associates. How many people in that plant gave two shits about how many people Goodyear employs? They only care about their job, their line foreman, his foreman. That's what they care about. You really care that 60,000 people work for Goodyear and you're on the line making $20 an hour? No. I worked for a company that was $100 million. Did I care? No. Did it employ 200 or 300 people? Did I care? No. All I cared about is the men that I worked with and the job that I had to do. That's what I care about. I don't care about all these other people that I'll never meet. Don't give two shits about them. Yeah, that might be hard-nosed and hard-ass, but damn it, that's what we need to get back to, this long, drawn-out crap. And like I said earlier, we support the police. Got a problem with it? Don't care. Don't like it? Leave. We're done. It's over, okay? Goodyear, you shot yourself in the foot because you couldn't pull your head out far enough to see what the hell is going on. Instead, you got wrapped up in all this political crap. You've jumped on the bandwagon for God knows what reason to support a Marxist organization. You know, I'd have to go back and look, but how many tires did you sell the military during World War II? Did you make tens of millions of dollars? In fact, I'm going to try and do a real quick search without boring the hell out of you people and say something that might mean something. Goodyear supplies tires in World War II. And does anything come up? Looking was, yeah, of course rubber was used in World War II. What a dumbass category is that? Okay, we got one thing about, now they're calling it the unsung heroes. And if this gets too boring, I'm just going to ignore it. It does look like they were involved, but I'm not seeing a quick recap, so I'm not going to bore the hell out of you. Wait, what is this right here? Oh, is there no numbers here? No. All right, I'm not going to waste your time or mine. But back to the point. What the hell were y'all thinking of Goodyear? I have no idea. And that goes for all the other corporations that are jumping on this bandwagon and supporting BLM. It is a Marxist organization. Look up Marxism. That is not a capitalist political party. It is a socialist party. It is socialist ideals. Do you get that? And where has it worked as Marx wanted it to in the world? Nowhere. You always hear about Venezuela. How's that working out for them? Cuba. How did that work out for them? The Soviet Union. Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Romania, and Bulgaria didn't have a choice after World War II because they were part of the Soviet satellite bloc states. They got out of hand. They got their ass handed to them. Remember when Hungary rose up? Yeah, the Soviets sent the army in and crushed that rebellion, just like China did. When the kids protested at Tiananmen Square, how'd that work out? Yeah, that was squashed too. Folks, that's socialism. That's Marxism. You really want to support that? You want to bring that shit to the United States of America? The country that is a beacon of hope and opportunity that no other country in the world has seen, and everybody wants a piece of it? Why in God's name do you want to destroy that? Why do you want to turn the United States into a third world country? All of this crap about pay equality. Hell, I was watching a interview it was Bill Maher. Oh God, I hate Bill Maher. But I've got to watch him on occasion just to see what he's talking about. And he had Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang on there. And Bill actually asked a pretty pressing question, and neither one of them answered it. And Bill didn't go back and drive it home, but it was, when do we get to the point where the debt is unsustainable? Because they were talking about everybody making the same amount of money, a nationalized salary for every American. Who the hell's going to pay for that? Who are you going to work for? What is going to be your incentive? What is going to be the politicians' idea of a fair wage, a fair living wage? Well, this is what Goodyear is supporting, and they can't even build a good tire or get their stock up above $20. What does that tell you? It's going to be a failed system. Is that really what you want? Do you think $15 an hour is going to eliminate poverty when to date, since LBJ's war on poverty, we have spent $22.5 trillion and haven't even come close to eradicating it? Why? Answer me that. Why? I'm not going to get into the cities and the states or Democratic or Republican. I want you to look at the bigger picture. Why? I want you to just look at the fact. Where are the facts? What is the root of this? And that's what my book, Do Your Damn Job, is about. I talk about meetings. I talk about dealing with employees. I talk about accountability, and that is a big thing. We're here. Goodyear's not being accountable. They're just blowing it down the line. They're just kicking the can down the road because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They got their hand caught in the cookie jar. They got slapped. Their fingers are broken. They went to the hospital, and the Obamacare wouldn't cover it because they couldn't afford the premium. The deductible was $20,000 for a $5,000 hand surgery. How's that socialism working out for you? Think about that. But that's what my book gets down to. We cut through the bullshit. We get to the facts. We get to the things that matter. I give you tools that you can use on a daily basis. You can't use the language I do if you work in the insurance business and the banking business for American Express, Toyota, any of the larger corporations that are just strangled by an HR policy. You can't use the language, but you can use the methods because they're precise, they're concise, they're to the point. There's no gray area. You will hold yourself, your boss, your employees accountable. People will produce, or people will be written up, and people will be released because bad people turn into low morale, poor productivity, and poor products that people don't want to buy. Because you don't have good people working on the line. I go through that. I go through social hour after work. Well, Bill and I are going to drink a beer. That's a real bad idea. If you want to go out with your line and have a drink, that's fine. But don't you dare sit there and start talking about work and talking about Billy and Joey and Jill and Jerry and Jenny. Don't do it. And don't talk about your bosses and what you don't like about them, because what's going to happen is that shit's going to come around like a boomerang. It's going to smack you upside of the head. People are going to get blindsided. The shit's going to hit the fan. And nobody's going to know what to do. Duh. And I also talk about rewarding. Yes, after I've drug you down and beat you up and knocked you on the head, once you're on board with my plan, by God, you will be rewarded. And that was one thing that I told my employees, that when I worked for this one company, if you do the work, you do it well, you excel, you exceed, you meet the deadlines, I will turn in a raise. And they looked at me like I'd lost my mind, which some days that is a given. They couldn't believe it. They said, "You really turn in a raise for us?" And I said, "What did I stutter?" "Yes, I will turn in a raise for you." They couldn't believe it. I turned raises in for foremen, for their employees, for their crews, for my superintendent. If these people treated me right and took care of business, I would turn in raises for them. Now, that doesn't always mean that the bosses above me approved them, but I could show them the paper that said, "Look, I turned this in and I faxed it in on this date. I'll keep you apprised." I would like to say 80% of the raises I turned in were approved. And with the amount that I turned in, nothing pisses off an employee more than turning in $1 an hour raise and they only get 50 cents. I saw this happen, and that made them madder than hornets. Their morale went to shit. They really didn't care about working, and all they did was talk bad about the company. Well, by God, I would explain my case when I turned in the raise, justifying why they needed it, and I better get a damn good answer why that is not going to be allowed. But I wanted to know first. So if they didn't get the full amount, I could go talk to them and explain the situation. I would rather them hear it from me than see it in their paycheck and just lose their mind. And that's what do your damn job is all about. I'm not going to give you a presentation or a book that reads like Goodyear's policy. I'm going to give you the facts. I'm going to give you what you need. And I'll make you successful. It is time to get rid of this PC HR garbage. I know it's not going to go away. But you read this book, you'll figure out how to implement the tools I give you and stay within the guidelines. And when it takes hold at your plant and your employees start responding and your production goes up and your morale goes up and the quality goes up, you will have yourself to thank for, because you took action and you made it happen, and then your bosses are going to notice what's going on, and they will reward you for your performance. And that's what it's all about. So I highly suggest you pick up a copy of Do Your Damn Job, because you don't want to be like Goodyear and be on the road out with a flat tire.